Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to check out the new Icereach Dungeon. I'm Alcast from alcasthq.com. Please make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. You can find the timestamps of the bosses in the description below, as well as the Solo Magicka Necroamncer build that I'm using here. Like always, I will be explaining the build real quick and talk during the boss fight so you know what I'm doing and why. Gear-wise, not a lot changes compared to other Solo Magicka builds. And please keep in mind on the website you can also find beginners, advanced and the tier 1 setup. So here I'm using Mother's Sorrow, it gives me so much extra crit. Then I have False God, which is just overall a lot of extra sustain whenever you kill something, and cost reduction and a lot of damage. It has more bonus than most other sets. And like always, our savior Iceheart. This monster set is simply the best choice for most solo content because it gives you such a nice shield and so often. It really helps bolster damage. I'm using tri-stat buff food, so we get quite a bit of health, magicka and stamina. And stamina is important on a magicka build because you want to block and dodge roll as well. Necromancer also has a cool passive that gives you a little bit extra health, that's why we have that much. So we don't need to invest any points into the health attribute, so we get a little bit more overall magicka. Looking at the skills, you really feel like a necromancer with this setup, like everything fits really well together in my opinion. So let's take a quick look at the front bar. Let's start with healing. So your most important ability to keep up is the Spirit Guardian, so the ghost, because that gives you 10% extra mitigation and constantly heals you. Then we also have the Harness Magicka on slot 1, the shield. If you drop low on health, just keep up your shield. Your ghost will heal you back to full health. During trash fights you can use the Scythe, which deals a lot of AoE damage and also heals for a crazy amount. Then there is Ricochet Skull, which is the single target ability, and Blast Bones that you want to use for AoE and single target because it deals so much damage. With this setup, most of your important abilities are on the front bar, like the healing abilities. Looking at the back bar, here Skeletal Arcanist, so your second summon, you want to keep this up too because it gives you 200 magicka recovery through a passive that you have. And once either the Arcanist or the Ghost dies, you can always use Mystic Siphon, like to increase AoE damage and your magicka return. There's also Elemental Drain that you should use, especially on bosses or bigger mobs, to increase sustain and overall damage. We have Degeneration. Now, you only really need to use Degeneration if you don't use the strong potions, because we don't have any other way of gaining Major Sorcery, so that's a nice way of getting it. If you use the spell Power Potions, which give you that already, then you could use Consuming Trap, for example. And like always, the Unstable Wall of Shock, very powerful AoE damage ability, should always be on the ground. Like always, you can change stuff around, no problem. In the written guide on the website you can also find further explanation and just showcase of the skills if you're not sure what I'm talking about. Like with all bosses, keep kiting. He's very slow when he's enraged. Basically, while he's glowing reddish, you want to make sure to stay at the range, because otherwise he's gonna deal a lot of damage to you. Avoid his AoE, even though they don't really do a lot of damage. And you can see Iceheart is doing work, we barely lose health. Now again, keep your Ghost up, the Spirit Guardian and the Skeletal Arcanist. These two summons are very important to the build. Keep up the dots, Elemental Drain, and then this boss shouldn't really cause any issues. The Ice Atronarchs die fairly fast if you focus them for a bit. The only painful thing here is that the boss has a lot of health.
She's here! She's...
Or can take you, witch scum. You there! Kind's breath. It's good to see a friendly face.
I heard her. She's this way.
Damn it. We can't talk here. Keep moving. I'll find you. Go!
Ritual would bring trouble. Your new patron asks too much of us. Enough of your mewling. These slow-witted Norns pose little threat.
Always prepare yourself before you engage. Sister Skelga only has 1.2 million health, so she will die fairly fast. None of her damage abilities really do a lot of damage, just make sure to avoid the AoE. That red fire circle, it deals a little bit of damage to you, but it also increases your damage on the enemy. So you could stay close to it to damage the boss a little bit more, but if you want to stay at range, that's also no problem. Again, if you drop low on health, pop your shield and make sure your Spirit Guardian is up. There are stranglers that will spawn if you're too slow killing her. You want to make sure to go to the strangler with the fire, because you can't really damage them as long as they have the frost aura around them, because they're kind of invulnerable. But then when you bring the fire to them, you actually can kill them.
The bear woman, she's... Skelga.
Shore's bones. There's no end to these hag-born bastards. I'm glad to see you in one piece. Our initial assault, it didn't go well. I saved who I could, but these witches are dug in like horrivores. Huh. You found an altar. Maybe the witches left some reagents or scrolls or something. Ugh. Filthy. Wait, here we are. A medallion of some kind. Huh. Might prove useful eventually. You go on ahead. I'll catch up.
Icereach, true witches.
I will not have it.
Then we have the Shambler boss. This one is already a little bit more tricky. He deals more damage than the previous bosses. But as long as you have your Spirit Guardian up, it shouldn't really be an issue, because Ice Heart, the shield, just carries our ass. If it's still not enough, use Harness Magicka. Now, he did a heavy attack there. It's fairly slow. I would recommend dodge roll it, but you also can block it, for example. There's again AoEs on the ground, avoid them. After a while, a ghost will spawn. Go kill him, because he will keep summoning and dealing damage, which is fairly annoying. He doesn't have a lot of health, so you can kill him fairly easy. There's also small ghosts that kind of have a beam that is connected to you. They should die in AoE if you have the unstable wall of shock and your Mystic Siphon up. Shouldn't really be an issue. And if you keep using blast bones, the explosion also deals damage to them. But really here you see I'm dodging all the heavy attacks. If he hits you with a heavy attack, you're not instantly going to die, but you will get stunned, so you need to make sure to break free. And you see I'm trying to avoid the fire AoEs all the time, so I don't get unnecessary damage. And he's dead.
Disgusting interlopers. You think summoning is all I can do?
Why not come down and show us, hag?
Brought a beast of your own, eh? She will die soon enough. You all will.
Cowardly witch. We've got them on the back foot. Let's keep the pressure on. Come on. Stay down, witch scum! Come on, we're getting close to the ritual, I know it.
So simple, is it? Arise and fight on, champion.
As you can see, I'm always buffing up before I'm engaging. And this boss here, Stormborn Revenant, he has a very powerful heavy attack that can instantly kill you, this one, so you need to dodge roll it. And if you dodge roll away too soon, he will actually try to do it again. So you gotta time it properly. You also could block it and use your Harness Magicka shield if you want to. Now, have you seen that? I basically was at 0 health, but I think the ghost saved me. For some reason I didn't die, which was, Jesus, that was lucky as hell. That's what happens if you don't, like if I didn't have full health, I would have been dead. There's a lot of damage. I let my Spirit Guardian drop there for a second, so I didn't have any healing up. So again, very important, the Guardian needs to be up. He spams a lot of heavy attack, he really likes heavy attack, so again, they're very slow and they have a pretty easy effect to actually see when it's coming. So you just gotta learn this. This is probably the perfect boss to learn how to dodge all the heavy attacks. Small mobs here, kill them, they're empowering the boss. But they don't have a lot of health, so it shouldn't take long to actually kill them. Everything else should be avoided fairly easy without a lot of troubles. Because his light attacks don't really do a lot of damage, and the AoE effects also don't do that much damage. Now he will enter a phase here where he starts summoning like a frost storm or whatever. Kill the Atros, the Storm Atros around all of them. Otherwise, again, he will get empowered. He will keep doing his animation till he drops to a certain percentage, or it just takes a certain amount of time. If you keep your Guardian up, he will heal you and you're not going to die. If that's not enough, use your shield. Just keep damaging him and move around, because there is shock AoEs hitting you in the face all the time. I really like this animation, it looks pretty sick. And after that, it's pretty much already over. There's not really much more to the fight, except these shitty heavy attacks. Just be careful.
So confident. So proud. You have no idea what kind of forces you are meddling with.
Think you can lock me out? I'll knock that pretty head clean off your shoulders.
Promises, promises. When our ally spreads his wings over the world, you lose so much more than your heads.
Damn these crones. Come on, the ritual site can't be much farther.
They're headed to the courtyard. Bring them down.
Damn it. Reinforcements. I'll hold up the Reachman as long as I can. You kill those witches.
Have your heart in the
Right in front of me. Settle, Kitty. You'll disturb the ritual. We must deliver what he desires. This way, only to die at our hands. Come, sisters, let us put an end to their tale. Send them to an icy grave, Cola. Scatter them to the winds, Cola.
This is the last boss fight, so you can only damage the boss that is currently, like, that doesn't have a bubble around him. So always focus that. The others will still do damage to you, but most of the times it's not really an issue. I actually transformed into Goliath here, which is nice because you get a lot of health, so you really can't die, basically. There's also an aura that drains health from the enemy, so that's even better, but as long as the Guardian is up, you will not die. The flame AoE, don't be scared of that. It will deal some extra damage. So here I focus the next boss. You could try to dodge roll their heavy attack or block it to reduce the incoming damage, if possible. But as long as you have your summons up, no problem. There's again a lot of AoE trying to catch you. Everything in ESO is like full of AoEs. I'm surprised that I have so much FPS left, to be honest. There's so much shit going around. But anyway, keep focusing these mini bosses. After you killed all of them once, they will start summoning or channeling. Now you need to bash, so you need to interrupt all of them. If you're too slow, boom. But you have a lot of time, so it shouldn't really be an issue. But you have to make sure to have enough stamina. So the same thing again, now it's a different rotation. Killing the bosses, but there's not really much more to it. till the last phase. You constantly have to interrupt them now. So make sure not to use sprint too often. We have 15k stamina on this setup with the tri-stat buff food if you use the tier 1 setup. If you have another gear setup, use different buff food, but you will have lower stamina. So you might have to be more careful managing your resources, especially on the stamina side. Sometimes bash doesn't work. That's because you might have another boss tab targeted. So you really want to make sure not to necessarily use the tab target. But most of the times it shouldn't be an issue. After you have killed all of these, and like the boss drops to a certain amount of health, the main boss Ciannait will get into the battlefield, and it's basically a burn phase here. You will see that in a second. She will drop into the middle and then start charging this big dark magic ball. You basically have to burn her. If you keep your spirit guardian up, you shouldn't really die. Doesn't really have a lot of health, so it shouldn't be a problem at all. And dead. That's the full Icereach Dungeon. I like the boss fights here, especially the one with the huge snowstorm. I feel like it's a cool ability. The first boss has a lot of health, but it's probably because it's like a big boy, I guess. Once again, you can find the build in the description below. Just check out the description. If you want to check out a few other videos, you can do that here. I also did the other dungeon recently, the other new one, the Unhallowed Grave, which is also a pretty cool dungeon. Other than that, make sure to not forget to subscribe and hit the juicy like button. Thanks for watching and see ya soon.